Hello and welcome to Creative Photo Folk. I'm Hayley, and every 3 weeks on this channel, I post a video about why and how I created one of my conceptual artworks using photography and Photoshop. This week we'll be exploring my image, Wallflower. So Wallflower has been most well received by my introverted friends, and that's not entirely surprising given the nature of it. So I created Wallflower at a time in my life when I was working a job that required weekend work, so I stopped being able to see my friends anymore, and it was a fairly toxic job that eroded my confidence. So I ended up at a point where I just wasn't leaving the house, and I became very fearful about leaving the house. And so Wallflower was created to convey that kind of sense of feeling trapped, but I also included the window to show that, the world is still going on without you. The fallen flower was actually my mother's idea. So I always like to show her my artworks, around the time that they're finished. And she normally says, "Oh, that's nice," or "That's good," which is super helpful. But this time she said, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if one of the flowers had fallen to the floor?" And I thought, oh my God, that is a great idea. And how that builds into the story I'm trying to tell is that despite feeling trapped, you can still kind of make an impact on your world. So let's jump into how I created it. First of all, I shot myself standing against a wall. Looked a little like this. Now, this is the only plain wall I have in my house, and even then it has pictures on it. So that is why I chose to stand here. It really did not help the situation at all, but it's where I chose to pose for this one. I haven't used this position again, funnily enough. And so basically what I was trying to achieve here was hold up a blanket and then get these creases in, because I obviously wanted her to look like she was emerging from a wall. And so I would need to create some bends in the wallpaper for her to be inserted into, essentially. So this is what I ended up using. So these are the creases, and then I basically just took out there's some funky stuff going on with these, but basically I just wanted to make them black and white. And then I'm going to bring in the girl. So basically I shot this. I don't have the image to show you here, but I'll pop over to here and show you the original. That was the initial pose, and then I just masked her hair and arms and face away and cut everything else out. So then I've added in the window. Now the window was shot while in Europe and it looked initially like this. I've cut out the building, so I can't actually show you that, but basically I've just cut out the middle and put a little bit of blue behind, created a little bit of a shadow to make it sit on the wall a bit better. There's my blue layer. And then I've added in the bird. So the bird was shot in Paris. There's this man who feeds the sparrows and he gets people to pose in front of them so that you can take photos as you two feed the sparrows. So this is actually my mum. So I just grabbed this little bird here and popped him into the window. Then I gave her a shadow. So that is just super easy. I just painted on some really light opacity black underneath her, just because presumably if she's standing in front of a window, she would be casting a little bit of a shadow. Next, I created the wallpaper. So basically, this was a little swatch of roses that looked a bit like this. It is a stock image that I purchased. And what I would have done is gone into if you double click on a layer, it takes you into the layer styles. And you can go into pattern overlay, and I would have made that tiny swatch into a much bigger swatch using that feature. Then I've added a texture in just to give it the toning that I wanted and even more texture further up, which created that kind of tea-stained wallpaper look I was going for. And that was created from many different textures here that just overlaid on top of each other, because I really also wanted to give it this gritty, lived-in, like she's been in this wall for a while and maybe the house is abandoned, that kind of feel to it. Then I popped in the features of the room. So this is the floor. And it's really stretched out. That was actually photographed at a friend's house who did have a blank wall. And then I've just copied this little dado rail, is that what they're called, dado rail thing, and popped it at the top. So she's got a bit of framing kind of to position her in. Then I popped in the roses. So again, the rose is a stock image purchased at the time. And I created a shadow for it just by making a copy, filling it with black, bringing down the opacity and moving it into position. The second rose, I believe, is one I photographed. And I did that because I wanted it to match the red and pink ones that were on the wall. So I've also given that a little shadow too. Then what have I done? I've given her body a shadow underneath on the floor. And then I've really just darkened everything down and taken out the saturation to again create that kind of more lived in, gritty feel. Our curves I've used to brighten the middle of the image just to send your eye in that direction, and given it some more toning, again, that more kind of magenta-y, tea, creamy feel to it. Then I've just added some more contrast to these ripples to help them stand out even more, and a little bit to her as well. Taken out even more saturation, and then finally cloned away a flower from the wall to make it look like it has dropped onto the floor. So that is how Wallflower was created. It's really wonderful being able to convey your thoughts and feelings in the form of art, and a beautiful way to connect with others. So thank you for your interest in this piece. I hope it makes others feel a little less alone. And if you'd like to learn this magical art yourself, check out my composite art course, Exposing Illusions. Otherwise, I'll catch you again in next week's tutorial. Bye.